Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we're doing a look ahead here to the Christmas Day games. We're recording this on Friday, but we do have some play-a-prop ideas for you guys. So we made up a couple projections that we're seeing here and what we think will come out from the sports books for these play-a-props on Monday, the 25th. But also did similar stuff here. We have lines up for the best bets, which we also have up in a separate video. So like and subscribe to that page. We obviously had actual markets up from the sports books for those things. So we're able to give that stuff out early. Also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where you can make sure you are getting the best odds available to you by using that odds finder tool. Get all the up-to-date odds in one little nice chart there for you guys so you can see where these sports books are at with these odds that they're giving you. Let's go ahead and jump right into your first play-a-prop here on a day of some fun times on Christmas Day, Nate.
Yeah, this is the one game we actually kind of have props for because the Bucks are at the Knicks on Saturday in the afternoon and then play again on Monday at this very same place in the afternoon. So I see Giannis over 17.5 rebounds, assists for even money. And that's probably the preferred bet here. We'll see if it's a slightly different line after whatever happens on Saturday. But the way the Knicks defend, right, under Tibbs, you expect them to just be like, we're going to build a wall. We're not going to let Giannis get all the way to the last line of defense and just like lay up all over us like he does when he plays Indiana or something. So it has resulted in more assists, including 10 dimes last time out when the Bucks were just lighting it up as a team in the in-season tournament there. I mean, if that's a sample size of one and you're concerned about the shooting, I will say, average 7.5 assists his last 7 against the Knicks and his last 7 against not the Knicks after that, the last 7 games since then, 12 potential assists per game. So an adjusted 8.3 assists per game, depending on shooting there. Also, of course, fantastic rebounder, 11.6 rebounds per game in that span on 19 chances. Brook Lopez, still a guy who will box out, defer, let Giannis come swooping in for those. And, I mean, with Mitchell Robinson being out, I guess my concern is that the Knicks defense is so bad that I worry Giannis will just score 35 and not get these peripheral stats as much. I mean, he can obviously still do both. And his scoring prop of only 31.5 is frankly, you can just go over that or take the PRA here. But I think they're just good enough, like just enough resistance with Hartenstein down there to force Giannis to have a couple putbacks, toss out a few assists, rather than just meeting no resistance, again, like when he plays Indiana. And in their first 6 without Mitch, I mean, they're allowing 121 a game. They're allowing the second most assists and the third most offensive rebounds per game, also allowing the 6th most attempts from 3. And Milwaukee will try to burn them from 3 again, and that's where a lot of Giannis's assists can come from.
Definitely. They definitely can. We both will feel silly if he does have like 40 points in like the third quarter or something because he's just deciding to tirelessly go to the rim. But the rim is where he's going to live, and that's what this bet is predicated on anyway, right? I mean, everything's just so high, I'm assuming, as well. What we'll see in terms of points and rebounds and PRA would probably be around 52.5 or something crazy, right? And you have to just decide that you want to bet on Giannis to go bananas in that case, which is highly likely. This Knicks team has definitely dropped considerably, unsurprisingly, without Mitch Rob in terms of how much it can stop what you want to do down low. But either way, that's a good bet. I would even look at maybe some Brolo rebounds. I always love in these games where Brolo has to play against actual big men and has to actually play more like a big man, and then he ends up getting rebounds because his rebounds prop is always sort of like ill-adjusted because he doesn't get rebounds in normal games, but for the few teams that have a legitimate down low big man, then he does get down there to make sure he can box out. But that is one theory for that game. I'm going to look back at the game that I talked about twice in in the best bets, but I'm going to bring it over here to player-props with the Nuggets and the Dubs and talk about Jamal Murray because I think he's going to be a huge part of that game. I'm going to go over look, I'll take 20 points in a Denver money line, same game parlay, right? But I do think his points prop is probably around 22.5, and I think it's playable up to 24.5, like a 25-point game for him, highly likely in this. He's in this one. He's done that twice since he came back from injury and played them last season. He didn't play in the earlier matchup that they had on November 8th of this year yet, but still, looking at last year, 29 a game and 8 assists as well, including 4 rebounds when he played this team in 36 minutes per game in those 2 that he played. And I like the fact that he averaged 6 free throws a game against them as well, because I hate taking a points prop on a dude that I need him to have to shoot 50% from the field to get it with the amount of shots he'll get up. But there should be plenty of shots for him to go around as well. We talked about Jokic and the numbers he's put up against the Dubs recently, especially without Draymond, who hasn't played against the Nuggets very much in the regular season in the last few years. And in this situation, like I don't think Jokic continues to feel the need to score. He has those assist numbers are consistently at double digits when he plays this team, and the points are there for him as well. But it does seem like another good opportunity for him to keep those assists up like he's been doing since Murray and Gordon came back from injury in the last couple of weeks of this season. And you've seen his usage rate drop and his points per game drop, not going over 27 points, but 3 times in the last 10 games that he's played. So I think that trend continues against a Dub team that I don't think will put up much resistance down low or anywhere on the floor. Murray should be scoring from lots of different spots. They do give up the 4th most points per game to point guards, but it's really just who's the best scoring guard on the other team that either plays in that handoff game with his big man or the pick and roll or the ISO, and then he should be able to get his.
Yeah, the only concern is maybe a blowout because we think Denver can easily score 120 on this team, and we don't know if the Warriors, it depends on how hot Steph gets. Basically, they're just so dependent on him right now. But, I mean, Jamal 20 plus in the win is pretty safe, I think. And sure, play it up to 25 with a little ladder, a little half unit there. Mm-hmm. And I'll take Tyrese Maxey to get 25. It might be 25 and a half, but this is what we're predicating it on. I mean, it's just that Bam Adebayo might actually slow down Joel Embiid. He has done it in 3 regular season meetings, 23 points per game, on 51% shooting, only 8.3 free throw attempts, which is down for JoJo. Held him under 20 points per game in 4 meetings in the playoffs in 2022. I think Embiid was injured at that point, but I mean, regardless, like you got to respect Bam more as a kind of versatile defender than you do Rudy Gobert. And if you're scared to say like, he just played the best defensive center in the league and dropped 51, and there's no way we can take an Embiid under. Well, I mean, Bam is just a lot quicker, a lot more, has those guard skills, can deal with Embiid on the elbow. Versus, this being a test of brute strength where Gobert can maybe stop him at the rim. But I'll let you get into that more. I'll just talk about Maxey, who is averaging 26 on really good shooting splits in his last 3 against the Heat. Yeah, on nearly a 30% usage rate. And it's not a surprise because the Heat are most exploitable in the backcourt, especially with Tyler Hero back now, right? He played 36 minutes his last game. He's handling the bulk of the scoring with Jimmy Butler out, who may not make it back on Christmas because it's Jimmy and he probably doesn't care. Lowry, at age 37, is getting absolutely cooked by athletic guards. He couldn't even stay on the floor against Orlando. Has a 130 defense rating in his last 3. Part of the reason Halliburton dropped 44 and 10 against the Heat, and now Miami allows the 5th most points to shooting guards, in their last 15. So that's not even counting the Halliburton stats. But Maxey is just too quick for these guys. And you see his usage rate climb way up when they're actually in competitive games lately, like 35% in the close win over Minnie, the loss to Chicago, good defenses. He took nearly 50 field goals in those games, 35% usage at NOLA, and then, a 28-point game at OKC that was highly contested, but only 23% usage. So my point is, like, when you face better defenses all around, you actually can expect more from Maxey. Because he's got to unlock things that the Sixers just don't have playmakers other than those 2 guys, and it's going to be predicated on how much they can do as a duo.
Yeah, it's funny that your bet is highly, like you said, predicated and just so relevant to how Embiid does, which is also just a conversation about how the Heat play defense. So I'll just talk about it through the lens of my bet, which is pretty correlated probably, right? Embiid to get under. And I thought it would come out at around 44.5. We still haven't seen it, obviously, but you were like, I think maybe 46.5. And to be fair to both of us, like he hasn't done this against the Heat at all. He hasn't even gotten 40 against the Heat as of late, but he also has a 48.5 points and rebound prop for the game that's on Friday night here against the Raptors, who also have done a pretty good job in their recent history against JoJo at times. But neither of us had the cojones to take an under in our daily video for JoJo, because we'll wait to see. I think the Heat's a better time, and we'll see what the prop is at then. And obviously a little bit dependent on what he does against the Raptors to see what he does next game. But if it's 46.5, that's great. If it's 44.5, I still like it. Like, even down to like 42.5 under, that's where it gets really testy. But the 44.5 is a great number. So that if you obviously have a higher number than that, hit under. But look, he's averaging a gajillion of these per game for the last like week and a half. And yes, there are some Detroits in there and some Washingtons in there, so it's just not the same. But his last three versus Bam, 23 points per game. You mentioned only 51% from the field and 8 free throws in that time frame. The other aspect to it is that there's just, like I was trying to say earlier, the defense and the way that it's played. There is that drop defense. What's really surprising to me, though, and what I tried to look into more deeply, is he doesn't get assists either. You would think that if they collapse on him and Bam is getting help and it's a team effort, that when he gets the ball at the free throw line, that he's not allowed to shoot from there, and he's still not able to back guys down. They're collapsing it. They're still rotating well enough to like keep him from getting the threes that he wants, because their 3-point defense is also incredible. They're always been good at just funneling things off the 3-point line as much as they can. So yeah, I got to go with it based on the numbers here. Like this, you can't just put up 50 points a game. You're not Will Chamberlain. It doesn't work that way anymore. You're not just bigger than everybody. But like I said, it's just going to come down to the team defense more than anything. Like, they limit centers to the really low points per game, lowest in the league, and then rebounds, they're top 10 at limiting them, and the assists as well, which is something I'm really interested in now, because if it's at like 5.5, I definitely like the under for him. I think he's capable of getting that. But what, you have something about the assists?
Yeah, well, I mean, everything you're looking at is not with Nick Nurse as coach. And
True.
yeah, Embiid's assists per game with Nurse in his system
Fair.
have spiked by like 2.5 a game. Like, it's way up. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't just go run into that just because Miami's limited him in the past in that regard. I think maybe he'll be happy to hand out 7 assists if he's like, you know what, I have the toughest matchup on the team tonight. I'm going up against Bam. Let's spray it around and try to draw help and let other guys get going, hopefully Maxey, so that we get both bets here. But yeah, I think it'll be, to clarify, I don't know if you ever said points and rebounds. We think
Yeah, I did.
it'll be 40. Yeah, it should be 47, 48, as long as he, comes close to topping this tonight against Toronto. Because, he's just on such a tear right now that they can't set lines lower than what they are.
Right. Yeah, they would probably be very resistant to like getting it too low. But it is interesting because his usage rate is like pretty normal, especially for him in terms of when he plays this team. And he still is like, yeah, he's not really, I guess last year he wasn't passing out of it quite as much. Like, if you look at potential assists and things of that nature from him last year, not very high. So it makes sense that he wasn't getting very many assists. But yeah, those potential assists for him these days is like, I guess somebody convinced him and taught him how to pass out of a double team, because he was bad at that when he got into the league, and he's only gotten better. Nick Nurse clearly helped with that. So like I said, I was a little bit resistant to the assist because I was like, this is a little bit fishy, but 5.5 might be a lot. It's a different system. So the points and rebounds still a good bet. But that is all the time we have for you in this Christmas episode of NBA Playa Props here on the Coast to Coast Pod. So continue to follow along, like and subscribe. Have an incredible holiday. And until we see you next, happy betting.